Forgot to set up which game we are capturing, so bear with me just a moment as I swap over to Path of Exile. A lot of people were requesting kind of Path of Exile content and or update, so we're going to take a look at the build as things are progressing, which is we've been playing kind of here and there in short sessions in between working on other stuff, and so we've gotten ourselves through Act 3 and Act 1 again on Cruel, and we find ourselves at level, as it stands, 56, I think. Our itemization's not the best. Let's get back into town here, because we already beat this boss here. And I did want to update the people, at least in terms of having a VOD, as well as maybe have a short little, maybe 1 hour session, something like this, as to what we're doing and how the build is going. So we ascended and we continued down the path towards Font of Will. We are planning on using Archmage here, but we're still going with the weave, where we're weaving together several different skills with different elements, and kind of trying to make it work. I think this is probably a little bit too sweaty from the micro perspective to make our thing work. We just got to level 3 skill gems, which we're not currently utilizing, but the overall play pattern is we drop a combination of Flame Wall and Frost Bomb in order to make it so that we will kind of have, we get ignited an enemy recently, so that's 30% elemental damage, and we also get, you know, this for having chilled an enemy recently, because Frost Bomb gives guaranteed chills, Flame Wall gets guaranteed ignite, and then we proceed to mainly do lightning skills from there. Our primary play pattern is laying down Orb of Storms, which is going to do the brunt of the damage. Level 57, ayo. You gonna do this overnight, Shiny? No, probably just a shorter stream. Our main damage source is kind of Orb of Storms, so I've kind of looking at some of the content on YouTube. A lot of people are doing Archmage Spark, and Spark is the main source of damage, but we're just using Spark as a facilitator. We have currently more damage with spell hits, with less cast speed. It's not too big a deal that we have less cast speed. We have this, which gives us more elemental damage for each skill used recently of a different elemental type. So in theory, every 4 seconds we do have to use Flame Wall and Frost Bomb to get this going, and then we also have Overabundance, so we can have 2 Orb of Storms out simultaneously. There are some other skill gems we are interested in using. I think we have a level 3 support gem, so we can take a look. But in particular, would like to use Elemental Discharge. That way we can remove our shocks, and also this will give us Elemental Discharge on our Orb of Storms, I'm thinking. We could maybe use where this will eat the thing and do 30 to 50% of our intelligence as, you know, whatever damage it is. Now, this means we will be scaling intelligence. We're kind of scaling crit. We'll talk about that a little bit. We're kind of scaling all these elements, but we're trying not to scale too much of any one singular element. Let's come back to our gems. For cast on, we're also using cast on shock here. We are shocking fairly frequently, and this is part of the play pattern. And we are casting Eye of Winter. I don't know if Eye of Winter is best, but it is allowing us to scale our other damage by giving critical weakness to our other skills. So it's kind of a facilitator, and also it fires projectiles. So if it travels through, you know, our flame walls, it will do additional damage, which it's kind of doing on bosses, not doing very consistently on clearing. And then this just makes it fire off more often, because this is a facilitator, not really a damage source as much, but we are just hoping to stack extra critical hit chance. And then finally, well, let's take a look at, we have Frost Nexus, where we're just looking to create more chilled ground. This is probably not what we want. More AoE. We could probably figure out some better links for Frost Bomb, to be honest. Conductivity needs a link. Actually, I think we had a link, and then we took it out for some reason. Okay. We currently have a lot of spirit, so we're running Arctic Armor, but that's not the long-term plan. Here we have Persistence, so the Flame Wall stays around longer, and plus Fire Mastery, because this is our only Fire skill gem, so we can feel free to use that there. And maybe we end up using the Frost Mastery. But Spark is enabling, and what we are doing with it, we might take Mana Flare and move it somewhere else, but we are scaling mana, we are kind of scaling crit. We have Arcane Tempo to just cast it faster, and we just trying to shock more with it, so that we can facilitate the other skill. And every time Spark hits, importantly, it allows Orb of Storm to hit. So we're just trying to hit more with Sparks so we can hit more with Orb of Storms. Or every time we cast, rather. Something like this. So we put down 2 orbs, and then we spark a bunch. There's also several nodes, I think, that are enabling this. Where we are gaining 5% of extra lightning damage as cold damage, which is kind of allowing us to freeze. Also, this allows us to shock a bit more. Not sure if we want the damage penetration here on lightning, but okay. That's kind of where we've gone. We are leading into the intelligence and the mana. We're going to pick up this intelligence node, this energy shield node. I think that we are going to pick up eventually the 6% int node. We came and moved the tree here to just come through some crit nodes. We have just the pure elemental nodes for most of our damage, and then also a combination of like mana and life, and these nodes seem pretty good. Extra elemental damage if we crit, penetrate for all our elements, and we're doing all the elemental damage. Increased duration of elemental ailments, not sure if that's going to be good or bad, and then extra elemental damage and elemental resist. I'm not really sure where we go here. Also, the damage is increased inherent, and not just plus 30% to shocked enemies. Yes, it's inherent on us, but we have to... So we have to keep the weave going, I think is the issue in terms of executing skill-wise. So we have to keep using Flame Wall and Frost Bomb, which is maybe a little bit difficult. This makes it so that we can shock more frequently, because we can put 2 shocks on a person. But we were having the consideration of using discharge, which would allow us to remove shocks. And so if we're discharging, this is maybe not the way to go, but we were kind of interested in the chance to shock. All damage from hits contributes to shock chance. We're not hitting too often, except with lightning skills, so I'm not sure how valuable Shaper of Storms would really be. I think we might go this route, where we get Elemental Storm with critical hits. And we just have more recovery rate on it. And we just look to scale with crit. We could also go for Heart of the Storm and Tempest Caller as well. I'm not really sure the best ways for us to inflict exposure. I think in Spark we might use to inflict exposure, in which case exposure... this might be useful. We might also use either Frost Bomb or the other ice skill, one of them to be more damage oriented, one probably Frost Bomb to be more utility oriented, and so Frost Bomb already applies exposure, and then we don't have a way to apply fire exposure, but that's kind of what's going on with the build, and what we're thinking about. PoE meant Pivot of Empire, get wrecked. Skill tree seems pretty simple, could learn it in 5 minutes. Yeah, dog. Easy peasy. You only have to worry about the nodes you have. This is going to be pretty big for us. That's so much energy shield. And I'm thinking that it's possible. We're going to do one of 2 things with the energy shield. We're either going to go really energy shield heavy and go Chaos Inoculation, and also with Chaos Inoculation go Mind Over Matter, and so then we will effectively have as our life pool this huge energy shield, this huge mana bar, and then we'll be immune to chaos damage, or we will not do either of those things, I think. Or we will go Eldritch Battery, rather, and we'll convert a big fat energy shield to mana, and then we will maybe want to get nodes. There are various mana nodes. We haven't gotten them so far, where damage is taken from mana before life. I just don't think we want 100% commitment on that, but maybe we do. Ended off with number 120 on the leaderboard tonight. Bro, sick. I'm going to be playing that game for the first time, I think, with my friends on Sunday, like IRL friends. And games I play with them, I don't like to play, like, and get good outside of that, so I'm excited. I'm probably going to let them know that my Discord moderator is in the top... Well, he's not in the top 100. He's just so super close. Actually, maybe I won't tell them unless you're in the top 100. It's not the big enough brag. Top 200, that's like... Anyone could get in the top 200, you know? Top 100, that's a different game. But we are in Cruel Act 2, so I think we'll continue on a little bit. Did want to give people some updates to kind of how the build is going and what we're thinking of the build. Valley of the Titans. Alright. That's friggin' sick, though. Can you tell what... the people who are high on the leaderboard, are they all... I assume they're mainly supports and tanks, right? Yeah, get wrecked.
My Akhara are permitted here, but I should not linger.
Or can you not tell what they're playing? So, to kind of show off what we're doing, if we don't have a lot of mobs or they're kind of low, we'll just like flame wall once and then this is enough to clear most stuff. So we don't have to do the full rotation, but when we do the full rotation, we also put down Mana Tempest. Let's maybe take a look at Mana Tempest. Mana Tempest empowers everything to do more lightning damage. So we're going to end up doing a ton of lightning damage. Causes lightning spells that cost mana also chained to targets while chaining, which includes our Overstorms, but not chained further from them projectiles from empowered lightning spells. 30% of mana spent while in the storm is added to skill's mana cost, so it spends a ton of mana. But it does 72%, like basically extra damage. And so like the full rotation is like, we flame while we do this, 2 Orbs of Storms here, then we do the storm, and then we just spark until the ignite leaves them. It does a lot of damage. Really unnecessary for clearing though. Good night, good night, Gyarados. The higher you go, the more everyone plays every role. That makes sense, I suppose. That's good to hear for the Q health, that it's not just all... I was expecting like it to be like super, just everyone's playing DPS. In high ranks there's a ban system like League. Interesting. I do suppose there isn't a role queue though, right? It's just everyone can play DPS if they want. We'll do the full thing here. Our cast on Shock doesn't really show up except that much, unless there's like a rare boss, a bot or a boss. So, if you play one character and it gets banned, you're screwed. Yeah, but that would also work if someone else picked it on your team, too. Any tips for unifying Italy and Vic 3? I'm having trouble as Austria. Having trouble with Austria? Well, you could generally, the easiest way would be trying to get an alliance with Great Britain or France. You could also try to exploit Austria while they are fighting Prussia and try and hit a timing window. You could also just try and get more powerful than Austria, but that's a little bit less straightforward, something to say as like a strategic goal in like a chat. So trying to think what would just generally be the most effective advice. I think it would be trying to fight them when they're fighting Prussia, if you can't get an alliance with Great Britain or France, and that's kind of the most straightforward way you could go about it. There's no role queue. In quick play you see a lot of DPS players. Yeah. One thing is, like, we absolutely cook bosses now, and so this content is, like, harder than the bosses, depending on the zone. Some zones are, like, really nasty. So there's our 2 skills. There's the weave and there's the damage. So there's the weave. There's a storm and everything dies pretty quick. The problem is like from a clear perspective, it feels a little bit bad to have to cast so many things because it takes a while to cast everything. So we could try and scale with cast speed in some spots, and maybe that's the solution. Oh, it's strange. Do you mean doctor? Right, there's a ban system, but no pick system. In tournaments, there's a pick and ban system. I know you play other games as well. We kind of don't that much. Not paying that close attention. I've actually really been enjoying playing Path of Exile. I do have to branch out a little bit more, I think. Because honestly, I have so many Vic 3 hours. It's like, as patches, like, as we get close to a new patch, I start getting really burnt out on Vicky. So I wish we did the rotation right, but we should have been able to burn that guy really fast. But I've been trying to add more games to the rotation. None of them are really connecting too well with people, but some people were asking about Path of Exile update, how we were doing. So that's why we're going to have this short little stream. This isn't like a full stream. More of trying to update the people who were interested / asking specifically about PoE. You notice our Spark does like kind of nothing on its own. It's pretty anemic. So we like the Orb of Storms really carries, but if we do Orb and then we could do with just 1 Orb, which is not how we're trying to run it, we could do decent. So you see there's a rare here. Did he just fall over dead? What the hell? I'm trying to illustrate in something. Alright, let's do the full weave. We're gonna back ourselves in a corner, so it's gonna look really bad if we die. So, a little bit of ramping required, kind of with what we're doing, which implies that it's actually just an awful build and kind of unplayable. Can also become a Project Caesar YouTuber soon? I don't know. Project Caesar is a little far off at this point. I'm trying not to project that far into the future. I think for now, I'm going to keep reading the dev diaries though, because some people seem to really like it. Very small, like, kind of niche. It's pulling down my average though, and I think that's the metric. Unfortunately, I think that that's actually a very strong contributor to, like, me not getting deals with Paradox. They seem to really care about view count average on videos, so running videos that get 1K viewers, actually just shooting yourself in the foot, I think. Whoever's in charge of that, I think that's the metric they care about. Which if I got like, some of those voiceover, like the voiceover deals seem pretty cushy with them as well. We wait for the hardcore Path of Exile streams, not Path PoE2. PoE2 is fucking, like, insane. I do not want to play this in hardcore. That'd be so intense. We'd have to, like, over level by, like, 10 levels. I haven't even finished the campaign on freaking softcore. What's this about? Why is it zooming out? Why is it zooming out like we got a boss fight? Where's the boss at? Excuse me? I know we can go into there. Or did we not activate all the things? We can't get into there because we haven't activated the final thing. When Norway or Olaf? Hey, it's been a while. Haven't seen you around chatting for a while. When Norway or Olav the Holy Build info? What is Olav the Holy Build? Talk about using like Mjolnir? I'm sure Mjolnir's in this one. Alright, so now we should be able to enter the grotto. Whatever it's called. Maybe we check down here anyways. +1 March of the Eagles videos. March of the Eagles 3v3v3. Dude. We should just try and find the absolute worst game for 3v3v3 and then play it. I mean, like, part of the joke is, like, Victoria 3 is actually just awful for competitive multiplayer environment, but... Okay, so are we gonna have a boss here? I forget. I guess not. Out of Mo? Mo? I don't even know what Mo is. I think they're planning to...
I have heard the
Oh, March of Eagles. I think they're planning to release March of Eagles 2 after Project Caesar. Is March of Eagles the Napoleon one? Then they would have collected all the eras. They could do a tour afterwards. See, that's why we don't play hardcore. To be fair, we're not very tanky, so... It's kind of hard to get really tanky, though, relative to PoE1. We now played Vic 3 multiplayer. Is it bad due to desyncing? I think it's kind of okay right now. I think there's some issues. It's not like the smoothest experience. My main point is that running a competitive... Like, it's not very good for competitive. It's like, it's a single player game, right? So, like, when you play multiplayer, usually you're playing with special rule sets that kind of make it more an RP-oriented type of thing. And so having a competitive environment, like, doesn't make much sense. Like, Hoey, for example, competitive makes a lot of sense. In teams of 2. Teams of 3 Hoey would be a little bit weird. Right, but like, it's like, that's what the World War looked like. When I was Napoleon, that's what I thought. There are just like some things that require just a completely different game. Like when systems change, and I think that like... You know, like, I think it makes sense that Industrial Revolution completely changes stuff. Like, once the Industrial Revolution is kind of the stuff that happens afterwards, like, it doesn't make sense to, like, use the same game. Like, if they wanted to extend Victoria 3, they would have to start including, like, computing and stuff like this. At least in the timeline. I was reading chat, looking like an idiot. Dying zone mobs. Okay, so we have a rare red here, so we can show how quick we can burn it. So it's like, it's mainly just setting up is like most of the time, and then it just dies really fast. I don't have a good frame of reference though for how strong the build is. It's probably just booty, but considering I haven't played Path of Exile 2, just seems like way harder, but like the build feels like it's really hitting a stride where stuff is starting to click. Except for stunning. Stunning's a problem we're gonna have to figure out. Oh, there's a rare, so we have to do the things. They had extra energy shield, I think. Single player will not be fun after a while. We'll not learn by playing ourselves. Well, I mean, to some extent, you like can learn by looking at spreadsheets and other stuff like this. Like, the AI doesn't provide a challenge, but like, I don't know. To some extent, like, multiplayer is like, social skills are like what's rewarded in multiplayer, to be honest. Any March of the Eagles experts in chat? All 11 of them? All 11 chatters. I think most of our viewership's actually probably on Twitch. Restream doesn't break it down. But there's, yeah, oh no, YouTube's 10, so. I do want to show off at least one boss, so... Ah! No, not my gumdrop buttons. I think we could use some... Actually, what we could use is freaking actual resists, I think. I think we could keep getting dicked pretty hard by stuff that's doing LE damage.
I can't do that yet.
Just not respecting some of the damage. Hardcore run over, basically. Not that I'm trying to keep the death count low, because it doesn't actually cost you anything in terms of experience, but we've died 238 times, which is not a small number. I think we died like twice when we played like softcore and PoE1 or something in the leveling process. So yeah, I'm completely disinterested in playing. Or, well, not completely, but, like, if people just want to watch me, like, just struggle, I suppose, would be the context in which I jam hardcore on this one. Like, some of the big YouTubers that only play, like, hardcore and PoE1 are playing softcore right now, so... That should, the fact that they know that they have to reach endgame to produce content, it should be a little bit telling that they don't want to play hardcore. People who are actually good at this game, which is not me.
Didn't break a sweat.
We're picking up all the int stuff, even if it's white, in terms of itemization, and then we're just transmuting it. And just looking for item upgrade. How far do we have to go? No, so far. We're gonna level soon. Social skills in the Paradox community? That's like asking a German to have wind and not ruin the southern power grid. Wait, what? That's a European joke. That sounds like one of those like European inside jokes where like the punchline is a genocide from 500 years ago. They're like, we have history and culture, unlike you idiots. Canadians and Americans are like, what now? I may be an outlier, but I have some pretty good plans playing multiplayer Hoey and EU4. Honestly, I'm like mildly like antisocial. Like, I'm like kind of a little bit standoffish, or maybe really judgmental is kind of the right word for it. So, like, playing games in multiplayer sometimes, like, just doesn't vibe that much for me. I think it's way different if I'm playing with, like, community members. Like, the entire, like, experience of, like, having a bunch of people who watch your videos and are interested in what you're doing and this type of thing is just really, like, from a perspective of gamers, not, like, a part of the course kind of context, but... Outside of that, I generally don't like playing with randos, relative to just playing a game by myself. But I've also made friends gaming, so maybe I just have too low a tolerance for weeding out the players I enjoy to play with versus not. I need to learn how to write. It is kind of an important skill. I mean, like, I kind of think ChatGPT is replacing that to some degree. Early stream, we gotta wake up early. Games are serious business. They are serious business. Except this is a super late stream for me. You must be European. Or really early on American. Gotten 2 friends to play Hoey and Vic, and 1 EU. Nice. I had a friend try and get my help to start playing EU4, and then, like, it's just too cooked, man. Learning that game is, like, for a new incoming player, just seems like such a daunting prospect. We gotta be careful. We don't have a check. We're not on a checkpoint anytime recently, so we'll take it a little bit slow. These guys are doing lightning damage. I think they're just shocking us and we're instant dying when this happens, so. We're much more resilient to physical damage, I think, overall. I feel like we should be coming up on the boss or checkpoint sometime soon. There we go, there's our checkpoint. And I think this is boss as well. Brazil here, starting the day. Okay. Brazil's like, in terms of the Americas, I think it's the one with the most eastward time zone, so. We will have a boss fight here.
You know why I am here. Relent.
Ooh, yikes. So we're just gonna eat the damage and burn him down like a pretty good chunk. I thought we were gonna do more, honestly, but stranger danger. So one of the problems is it's hard for us to get the full weave going if we have to dodge mechanics. So now we have, you know, all the elements down on him. Oh, we forgot to curse him. That's a little bit of a leak. Whoa, hello. That seems visually strange. There we go, he's dead as hell. Pick up the flame, Ruby.
It's time to go. It is warm and beautiful.
Okay. Oh, Kurt. We'll go back to town. We maybe should have gotten water before the stream, although I wasn't planning on streaming too terribly long.
This it'll take if my thing.
Yay. And there's the home of Vestiri. Let's do our thing here. Woo. Wow. We don't have anywhere near enough decks to use this. I mean, it does have reduced cost. Maybe we could sell this? I really don't know the secondary market that well. It seems like a good amount of health and spirit. I really don't know the price of things at all, though. So we're just kind of like listing stuff and then just decreasing the price of stuff, and maybe we'll sell something. But I think that our stuff would have been really good day 1 and 2 is probably just now completely trash, so that's probably the state of affairs here. Let's take a look. Life and Leech. Is that worth? We're kind of playing SSF, so we could Regal this, upgrade it to a rare, give it another modifier. I don't know if it's quite good enough for a Regal. I'm gonna put it in the tab where we're kind of collecting things to Recomba. Let's It's kind of junk for us. We are going to transmute this. Alright, we'll spin the wheel on an Og. Not really the mod we would have wanted. 104 mana. Alright.
Speak up.
I don't think... Oh, we did level up, so we gotta check the vendors. We're looking for plus levels of skill gems, generally here. Let's grab a couple of those. I think that... I'm trying to remember who gives...
My wares
Yeah,
are renowned.
so we're just gonna look, sort by rares. Just take a quick look at stuff. That's not that expensive. We could try and roll movement speed. We've been looking for a boots upgrade. Our boots, we've had the same boots for forever. They're kind of junky now. They're just actual real bad now.
Goodbye.
You should try some older PDX titles. We played some. I think we would have a hard time getting views playing older PDX style files. I mean, maybe we just like super throwback and play Titan Grotto. We've already gone there. Wait, where are we supposed to go? Okay. I thought about playing E3, which was my first title
For glory.
that I played. Wait, where do we disembark? Excuse me, lady? I'm not sure where we're supposed to go, man. Are we here? Where are we supposed to go? The thing's not down. Is it gonna lower as we approach it? No. No, no, no. No, no, no. Wrong way. We could use our waypoint here. For the glory, in that there's an Jewish Ethiopian nation in EU3, maybe with Mayu for the eyes. But from a level perspective, Catholic's correct. It looks like we've cleared all these areas, though. We have to return to. Maybe we just like use our eyes. Return to. You've returned the Sandstorm. That's what I thought. Use the Horns of Vestry. Oh, we had to march up here. Got it.
Be hard for some to understand our older traditions.
It was hard for me to understand that older tradition. Yeah, okay. That was an older tradition of which I was not familiar. And we use this to travel to Deshar. There we go. I think we're pretty close to the end of this act, too. people we got. Nice little 10 ball.
I hope there is time to protect our honored dead.
We shouldn't have stepped in front of it, that's fine. We have to stand near our Orb of Storms. It would be nice if we didn't have to stand near our Orb of Storms, it's quite so close, but in order to reactivate it, we do need to stand quite close. It has range that far exceeds the area that looks. Okay. We encountered a rare mod, we gotta give him the full treatment. I kind of prefer taking on the rare mods. It's a bunch of little ones. We'll try and alternate. Oh shoot. See there, I got zoned off the orbs, which is bad. Trying to get a little too fancy with it. Yeah, I do wish maybe we're just supposed to have shock do the most damage, because there's times where we just like want to spend half a second and we just can't. Although in those times we actually should just put down Orb of Storms, like when we were walking past those 4 zombies. How dark to you is that outside? I mean, we live in kind of a city, so it doesn't get too dark even at night. It is nighttime though. And living in Southern California, we do have like actual days. I know if you're in Norway, like some times of the year you'd like stop having days or whatever. I guess it depends on how far north in Norway you are. Maybe we could just Orb of Storms only? What if we just drop Orb of Storms and then... No, that doesn't seem to kill anything. I really thought I was gonna die there. That's another thing, is you can get like uber trapped and you can't log out. If you like log out in this one, you don't go back to like town, you stay where you were. So you can't log out to avoid dying, which I think is a really nice change. Like, there's like, it's kind of like how EU4, Iron Man isn't really Iron Man, in some sense, because, you can like bird, right? But in Path of Exile, like, you can get yourself into really bad situations and just log out. So like, the metagame for playing really hard, like, in PoE1 is just, nice. The metagame in PoE1 is just to log out if you get in trouble, and then you like stop having to fight the thing. But you can't do that here because it'll just, if you log out in the middle of a boss fight, it'll just like keep you right where the boss fight is. Those guys are rare. The sun rises at 10 and goes down at 14:30. So you have 6 hours of sunlight, yeah. During the winter, you have less, and during the summer you have more, right? So, are we dead? I guess not. Player left. He went back to grinding. Looking to get that top hundo spot. We haven't had a checkpoint in a while. We have to try and play safe. Cool.
The Faridan should know better than to let this madness transpire.
I gotta change over some laundry in a minute. Do want to make sure that it's finished the cycle because I don't want to leave the stream twice. But oh, it's got a really low base amount of ES. Maybe that's not even worth us doing anything with. Oh, that's a mimic. Summer, we have 3 hours without the sun, but it's bright at night. That sounds rough. I don't think I'd ever want to live like super close to the poles, where you like lose access to normal day-night stuff, where it's like contingent on the season. To be fair, like Southern California is like about as cushy as you get from a weather perspective though, so. We're starting to get hurricanes now, but like for the most part there's like nothing negative weather-wise. Weather or climate or whatever. The only thing is earthquakes, which are not too big a deal if you don't live particularly close to a fault, which we don't. Ooh, is that a unique? A unique? We're not gonna be able to use that anyways. What is this?
Ancient power.
It's ancient power, boys. Gains free rage when we hit an enemy. Gains free rage when we critical hit by an enemy. Hit by an enemy. Does it not require anything? Seems bad. You can't stand the heat. That's fair enough. It does get a little bit hot here. By a little bit hot, it's like almost never over 90. Like, it's not like Florida or like Hawaii or something. It's like between 70 and oh, what is that in Celsius? Sorry, I only speak freedom units. Between 70, I don't know the translation, but between 70 and 80 is like kind of where it stays. I guess we'll just kind of upgrade everything that we're using. Even though Frostbomb being the latest level's kind of not important. Wish I knew exactly what percentage of my damage ended up being lightning versus other stuff. Make the pen things. 25C is the max for you? Yeah, I don't know it in freedom units. 15C is good. I think it gets up to like 40C at like 40C is like 110 Fahrenheit or something. Can't remember. Maybe we should have something. Our spark damage is super inconsistent because when we actually do spike the 20% of your mana portion when we crit, it actually does a ton of damage, but other than that it doesn't. Maybe we would want something more consistent. You know, sometimes our spark, like, creates this, like, flame explosion. That's, when it crits, it does 20% of our mana. That's fire damage. I have to imagine we want to use that somewhere in our kit, because you can only use one drum in one spot. I just don't know where, I suppose. I think we're going the wrong way now. 60 to 70 looks fine during anything outside. 48 is 120. 40 Celsius is 103. Yeah, then it definitely gets over 25 in Southern California. Like, it does get in the 80s occasionally. I mean, 90s super occasionally, too. Like, the number of times it gets over 100, like, where I live specifically, is not very common. If you go inland a bit, though, you get a lot more of it. I mean, you go inland enough here in the desert, and then it's real hot, but... Whoa. Why can't we all have sensible temperature scale like Kelvin? Yeah, dog. Someone's asking the real questions. Actually, we all do. Well, you know what? One thing. So normally I don't like the use of imperial by the United States. I think it's generally stupid. But temperature is actually one where I prefer Fahrenheit to Celsius, like in the abstract. And that's because I think 100 degrees should be really fucking hot out. Like, whatever 100 degrees that is, it should be really fucking hot out. It's like, that seems like an appropriate metric. And I do not like that, if it's 100 degrees out and it's Celsius, you're dead. I think that's a flavor fail, so... Oh, is that a regular mod? I thought that was a boss, Jesus. I guess we didn't have the checkpoint beforehand. We'll probably fight this next boss and then call it a stream. Short little, like, that way you guys don't have to wait for me to change over my laundry, but I can also change over my laundry. And I could work on setting up something... new piece of equipment. I guess I could show that on stream. So we got a... X Pen... like, tablet thing, so we don't have to use the drawing, like, function, thing. Or we don't, it's like a little tablet I can write on, so I can actually draw, like, if I want to write something on stream, because I'm trying to explain something. If I'm going to try and do the ideas YouTube stuff a little bit more, I really want something where I can write. And we were trying to do an overhead camera, but we couldn't figure out the camera for that. So I'm hoping that this is a nice little substitute until we can... I just, like, don't want to make a camera decision myself, because I want to get, like, a nice camera, but it's going to be fucking really expensive, and I don't want to make a mistake. So... this is, going to be a nice, I think we can do. Eventually, I do want to actually... write stuff on paper as part of the stream. Hopefully you guys could see what that was. The delay is showing me it now. Hopefully you guys kind of saw it. It's like a tablet that doesn't have a screen, and there's like a stylus for it to describe it, I guess. And then you connect it to the computer, and you can project what you're drawing or writing onto that. 100 outside is dead. I like freeze at 0. So I think that the system I would like doesn't exist. I think like whatever 100 Fahrenheit is should be 100 Fahrenheit, and 0 Fahrenheit should be freezing. I like the... To be fair, the boils... Celsius is pretty nice, because boils is... water boils at 100, right? I can get behind that. I mean, I respect it. Intellectually, that's the correct choice, but, like, colloquially, I would rather 100 be just real fucking hot outside. I think this is the boss, boys. But I kind of like this build. I like the fact that it feels like we're using all of our abilities. I think that's a mistake. I think we should be just trying to use 2 abilities, but it feels really nice when you ramp everything up and then you hit something big. We're probably... The thing is, we should probably just be using fewer abilities to clear out chaff. And we should be evaluating how many abilities we should be using much better. So here we'll just use Orb of Storms twice and we'll forget about the Frost Bomb. But then we needed to... I don't know. The problem is you can get on the run in these types of situations because you have to cast so many things in a row and then also stand on your Orb of Storms. Feels like super punishy when it doesn't go off right. Okay, we get another checkpoint. Is this the boss? Are you my mother?
You are relentless, but that which you predicted, the time of the fighting is nigh.
We led that by way too much. Now we have no mana. Not a problem. You can see our cast on shock triggers way more often with this guy. The ice thing that like shoots out from us sometimes. That thing. It happens much more frequently with bosses and rares. This was like a little bit of a nerf / update they did, but it's giving us crit chance, right? And then when crit, our spark is doing a shitload of fire damage, so like, it's like we ramp and then we pop off. This guy is dragging us along like a cheap something. A little late in the evening for those types of jokes. Jesus, he's just diving right in. Alright. We must travel light. Girl, what are you on about? I didn't even read what it said. Yeah, that's not gonna be cut it. Ooh, level 14. Ayo. Let's go. Would have preferred, I think, our first upgrade we just always do on Orb of Storms, because I think that's actually just where a brunt of our damage is coming from. Minus 15 is perfect. Jesus. Like sore from the head, cold rough. Yeah, I'm not about. I really like it being between 60 and 80. Talking freedom units. I guess we'll keep the unique in case it's good. I'm pretty sure it's awful though. Doesn't it plus level and attack speed combined with other stuff, so I assume it's kind of junky. Doesn't look very good. We could save it for recombinating though. We'll just vendor it. Rip the Dream. We could use a Chaos Orb. I think Chaos Orb only like rerolls the bottom thing though. So we'll just vendor this as well. And then we'll augment this in case we just high roll that. Nope. I don't think there's a world where that's good enough on 2 mods where it's going to be better than this. This is kind of one of our better items. So, time to sell the cheap stuff. I don't think we gained another level. No, we didn't. Just 1 level today.
As we approach Desha, the others, if you happen, Sans guides you.
So, I don't know. How many people we got? I wonder what people want us to do. Between just ending the stream or just switching over the laundry and coming back. I mean, we could work on setting this thing up, if anyone's interested in that. I think we could just set it up off stream though.
We now have them for glory.
Here's the little pen that comes with it. It's got clicky on it, so I don't know what that's about. I assume that allows us to differentiate stuff, but that means that it's like Wi-Fi. We have the thing in the little baggie here. And like a screen protector thing for it. I'm excited about it. Been a while since we've invested in anything. Just finished up the freight video. Hey, lemon sticks. Really enjoyed the theory crafting. We'll leave my thoughts on the vid, but into thinking mechanics. But yeah, thinking about mechanics to further improve the game is something. Yeah, something I kind of was interested in doing. Some people on the Patreon were interested in that. I kind of want to do more video essays and see if they do okay. I actually enjoyed doing it a lot, but the amount of time and effort I put into it versus like how well it's doing currently is just probably I probably shouldn't do those types of videos. We're so close to gaining a level. I assume we go here. I bet we even get this node. 15% seems so much energy shield. Especially, we want to, I think, get this energy shield too. Yeah, I think we want to eventually do this into this. The additional stun threshold would be really nice. And max mana, and then into here, and this portion of the wheel for the extra int. And that might be kind of like our tree to some extent. Wait, what's he got? I have a little, it's called an XP pen. It's like a tablet thing that I can write on and stuff appears on screen. I will watch it after this, don't say too much. Oh man, spoilers. It's really long, it would be hard for us to say too much. I don't know how much we can even spoil that video, to be honest. I mean, we could refund at this point. We were thinking that we'd maybe get Mind Over Matter sometime soon, but then I kind of wasn't feeling it as much. And then we came this way. Well, I think that maybe... The whole payoff thing is rough, and maybe it will gain traction, and you will get audience for Vic 3 players wanting to listen to theory crafting. I think it's probable I just have to try and get the other two channels to get like online, and try and actually be a generalist and manage 3 channels simultaneously. Like my growth for Victoria 3 has basically been flat, and I basically didn't get very much bump from 1.8. And I was relying on 1.8 being some kind of bump in order to show an overall growth trajectory. But there's not an overall growth trajectory after like 10 months. And so I either need to change up what I'm doing in a very significant way, or I can't really justify doing what I'm doing, I think, unfortunately. It's something that's like been on my mind the past couple weeks. I feel like I've talked about it a little bit here and there on streams, but don't know what the market would be like that. I think that the type of Vic 3 person who like wants to watch my video, I've already captured and saturated, like the market or whatever, so to speak, pretty significantly. I'm not yeah, I don't know, that's like a meta level consideration also that I perhaps just shouldn't talk about that much, because I think ultimately people in general just don't care that much because they're more interested in the game than like what I'm thinking about in regards to like the meta consideration of like making content and doing videos and stuff. I am hoping to do Civ 7, and maybe there's a chance that Civ 7 pops off, but I have a really hard time imagining that. I mean, we could just change over the laundry and then vote between unboxing the thing and finishing this act. Maybe let's do that. Sharp pull. Alright, we'll switch it over. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We'll also grab some water. Alright. Back in. Unbox thingamajig. Alright, you guys want to see the thingamajig. Okay, so here's the initial box we got it in, or the sleeve for the box. Okay. Container was a little nice. We have a little stylus and the thing for the stylus to go in right here. Not really sure what exactly this XP pen, just like things on the back of it indicate, but we have that. The pen has a button in addition to just being like a manual stylus. So that's kind of the packaging. That's as far as we had gotten. And so we also have this thing in the manual. I guess we don't want to show our model number in case that somehow doxes us, but we have this. It's got some cords, some USB plugins. And then the thing itself, which we haven't taken out yet. I guess we will. Generalist cooking. Get that channel online. That'd be like such a wild ride. We try and start up the gaming channel. I mean, we tried to do the other two channels before the gaming channel, and they just never connected. Or here. Let's... I can't watch chat, and... There we go, that works. Okay, so now I can see what's going on. So try and do it in a way you guys can see. On YouTube, it seems like the edited vids are doing way better. What do you mean? I mean, the Austria run flopped super hard. Kind of disappointed about that. I thought the run idea was super cool. To be fair, like, maybe that's just something where I just accept that the people who enjoy it really enjoy it. And a metric which YouTube doesn't report, so you could see. Let's It's a little scratched already. Is that normal? I suppose it's probably fine. But it's got some buttons and some other stuff. So it feels really weird putting it. I mean, there's like some scratches on to the left. I think it's probably okay. So, I'm not sure if you can see, like, this looks a little scuffed. Maybe kind of hard with the way the lighting falls. But there's a box. You might be able to see the corners for the box. And if we draw on that, it appears on the screen, is the idea. And then we have this screen protector, because we don't want our scratched screen to get any more scratched. Your workout channel didn't take off due to not be calling generalist gaining. Honestly, I could just change it. It's like, it's still basically just like not a channel. Like objectively, I think I'm actually just way better at lifting weights than I am at playing video games, like any video game categorically. Which is kind of like, I actually think in terms of what I like doing and what I'm good at, I think it's like almost reverse order. What's done well, which has kind of been a wild ride. This entire thing, like, in regards to, like, doing stuff online and having, like, tens of thousands of people watch my stuff has just been insane. It feels very surreal. And, like, non-real. So we got this thing. In a way that's kind of hard to articulate. Well, now it's just the homies. Watching not the actual post stream, but the unboxing. Okay, so it's only sticky up here. I guess now we're in the. So we can put it on top of here like this. But I guess before we apply that, we should maybe take a look at the thing, manual. Maybe show you guys how overweight I am, but you guys see a little bit better. It's always a trip talking to streamers. Yeah, I mean, like, so the thing, like, the entire thing feels, like, surreal, but, like, dude, I'm just an ordinary guy. But, like, the relationship people have with, I think, people that they watch for entertainment is, like, not necessarily, like, a normal one, right? Or it just feels really weird. I definitely, like, feel really weird if I meet someone who's, like, stuff I consume. And so, connect to the internet, close all applications. We ain't doing that. We could try and do other stuff. I'd like to actually show this off for you guys. If we're gonna watch me unbox it. So we have one screen protector, a bunch of other stuff. Tells us to the best is the small ones, they respond. I made some friends through streams. Yeah, the mutual stream building, my friend's wife and my friend made a ton of friends, like, trying to build up their stream. My friend's wife's stream. And they have, like, a bunch of good friends from that, which is really interesting. One of them's actually trying to get into streaming, back into streaming after, like, they all kind of moved away from it a little bit, because it's hard to, like, actually get going. Deco 01v2. 01v2. We're gonna download stuff from the official site. I guess I can show you guys what the thing is that we were kind of unboxing here. Just have to make sure I don't randomly dox like payment information. But this is from their website. Ah. So this is what we got. Not very expensive. I thought that this was a nice little thing we could pick up here. And maybe this is a little bit better. So I think we'll just try plugging in the USBs maybe. I guess if that crushes the stream somehow, then the stream will get crushed. Something like that. But yeah, I try and respond to everyone, but at a certain size, it's just actually becomes impossible. Nice little bag ASMR for you guys. I'm not sure what we plug into what. See if we can find the software. For this. Maybe this is maybe I shouldn't be streaming this. You say a plate of pork fat and bones, no meat. Wait, what? Please, we could find you. All we have to do is go where the loud cars are. True. I guess where's the on button on this thing? The guide is just like literal one page and it actually doesn't tell you how to get the thing started. It says connect it to your computer. Or make sure you can use the stylus to control the cursor. Maybe we just didn't read. But this is all the directions we have. Will it focus? No, it will never focus. And I don't know how we're supposed to connect it to the computer. Just... Oh, are we actually just supposed to hardline connect it? Maybe it's just not wireless. It's just not wireless. Okay. I'm just being silly. In my head, I thought it's wireless, and then it's not. I found him 2 hours away at E6. No. You sunk my battleship. I don't like this. Wait, if this just controls the cursor, I'm gonna be kind of annoyed. I hope that there's like some software with it. So, we're plugged in now. Allegedly. Oh, what are you seeing off to the... That's my mic. Okay. We have like an overhead camera setup that we like tried to do and it didn't work out right. You can see like we can... That's the camera we got. We need a nicer one, but this is the arm. Alright, the stuff lights up, so that's promising. So... Oh, hey, hey! I can use the thing to control the cursor. Interesting. So... I don't have any things, but I don't... It didn't like open any apps, but we could do this. Right? And... Oh, that looks like shit. What the hell? Right, so that's not doing anything. Oh, it's not on black anymore, it's on white. Kinda wanna move the cursor without clicking. Maybe that's a dream. A fever pitch. I don't know how I feel about this thing. Okay. So... I mean, maybe it just takes some getting used to. We also don't know the buttons that well. Also, maybe there's an app that we can use for this. With your drawing tablet, there's software to get, but it wasn't anything fancy. Play Vic3 or PoE with it. I would want to get an overhead camera if I was going to play Vic3 with it. Playing Vic3 with it would be so hard. But I think you could play Vic3 with only clicking. We could, like, I don't know. Let's do a presentation on chaos. But to be fair, maybe we're supposed to put on the protector first. Our stuff's like scratching up. Alright, yeah, we actually just should. Okay, let's put on the protector first. Let's be not silly. I mean, that didn't show up as well as we would have liked. Yeah, I think this is not gonna really solve the function that we want for it, to be honest. It's not gonna fill the role we want for this thing. I'm sorry, I should have picked up a better angle here for you guys. Really not used to doing streams where I'm showing myself doing something. So, if we do chaos, is a ladder. Hey. You play mostly with your mouse? Yeah. And then... Oh, when we hover... Oh, when we hover it, we can see where our mouse is. Okay. I'm getting it. I'm picking up the sauce, dudes. So if we just hover this, we don't have to write, and then we can put pen down, and we could say that chaos is really reality, to be honest. And order is an illusion, because it is. Maybe you should just learn how to draw with a mouse, huh? I don't even know if this is... Is that a Wacom pad? It's one of these. I don't know if that is a Wacom pad. It's an X Pen 2. I don't know if that's maybe the idea. Oh, you guys can't even see what we're doing here. We won't... Chaos is a ladder. Order's an illusion. Yeah. Take that, Jordan Peterson. So that was a little something. I don't know. We could talk about. So what I wanted to do, maybe we'll do this sometime if we can figure this out, is presentation. Alright, okay, let's do this with the pen. Chaos is a ladder, that's true. I'm almost positive we can actually just refresh the page, huh? Instead of being an idiot. Okay. So, we could do like a presentation on ethics if we wanted. Just something we were thinking of doing for the other channel. And we could talk about how there's kind of 3 branches for ethics. There's consequentialism, where you evaluate stuff based on what the outcomes are. There's rules-based ethics. There's a special name for it. I forget the name. I'm always forgetting it, but rules. And then there's finally another ethical system called virtue ethics. Shout out to Aristotle. Oh, it didn't register my other line. Didn't like it. We probably could get some sort of software for this that's going to be a little bit better. But we need our... this. So we have virtue ethics as well. Brush size increase. You want to see us try and play Vic 3 with it? Deontology. So that's Immanuel Kant. Here, let's do it higher so you guys can see it because my camera's in the way. So Mr. Immanuel Kant invented deontological ethics, which is commonly held up as the system for rules-based ethics. And the idea is, in order for an activity to be permissible, and this is one problem, there's a lot of problems with where's religious ethics? Philosophy, that's not a branch of philosophy. If it's ordained by God, it's ordained by God, and it's there's no specific logical pattern that you're going to use for it, other than interpretation of scripture, right? But Kant believed that in order for something to become ethical or to be ethical, it had to be universal, or it had to be non-problematic if it became the universal thing. And so for this, I haven't prepped for this at all, but for this, a very significant example is lying. And if lying became the universal, then this would completely eliminate, the value of telling the truth, and it would undermine society, and so you would never wish it to become the universal kind of pattern of the way people conduct themselves. We could maybe find out Kant's here, let's find the exact wording of Kant. Universal law, there we go. Okay, Kant's universal law is central to his ethical theory. It states that we should act rationally in accordance with a moral law that can be applied, universally applied. We would not want lying to be the norm. Kantian ethics is based on the idea that we should only act in ways which we could will to become universal law. The categorical imperative, specifically the formula of the universal law, demands that we act on maxims that we could will to be universal laws. This just says the same thing 5 times in a row. Shout out to AI. In other words, glad we're putting it in other words, we should only act for reasons that we would want everyone to adopt. Let's get categorical imperative. One of the problems with Kantian ethics, in my opinion, is that, and a lot of ethical systems, and also just Western ethics in general, is it only really judges on saying you can't do X. That's the only way that it morally creates a kind of way of looking at things, is you can't do a certain thing. And there is no... What's the distinction? I forget the name of the distinction. There's acts of commission, right? Which is, you have done the thing. Oops, how do we... What the hell? Oh, we accidentally clicked the wrong button. Okay. So there's acts of commission, which is you actively doing something. So if I murder someone, that's an act of commission. And then there's acts of omission. So if I watch a boy drown in 3 inches of water, which anyone can drown in 3 inches of water, then that is an act of omission, right? I am failing to save the child. And I would consider that to be unethical. But Kantian ethics is a rules-based ethics, and it only says what you can't do. So for Kantian ethics, we don't evaluate this at all ever in the history of ever. We only evaluate, is what you do moral or immoral. So that's only acts of commission. So this is one of the failings, in my opinion, of the moral system, is it's, from the perspective of that moral system, you can be moral even if you allow horrible things to happen in front of you. And this is actually what a lot of Western ethics in general, they look at things with this kind of, through this kind of lens, that is somewhat related to this commission versus omission, where what they are primarily concerned with is, even if they're not religious, this kind of idea of doing something specifically wrong, in this case we'll just call it sin or wrongful acts, And in like kind of Western ethics, a good way to become immoral is to do just one thing really, really, really wrong. But you were considered moral, kind of in the West, even if you never do anything right. You're considered moral just as long as you don't really do anything wrong. And if you do one thing really wrong, then you're considered like bad for forever. So the West, in terms of how it evaluates morality, is really, really concerned with commission. Did you do something specifically bad? Not did you fail to do something good? And there's some like insipidness in this. Pen dies just as things are getting good. We're back. What it actually is there's a right click and a left click, and the I think the left click is the dropper tool, and I keep on dropping the white, and then I think the pen's not working, but then it is. And this is a distinction that Foucault here. See, there I did it. I accidentally pressed the wrong thing. So let's... and switched my pen to... So Foucault wrote a book called The History of Sexuality, which is... there's a section on it where he's looking at the ethics specifically of the ancient Greeks as it relates to sexuality. And the ancient Greeks are very much unlike us. For them, ethics was much more about stylization. And so, for, like, you know, kind of more contemporary, like Western ethics, like to sin sexually would be to, you know, do it with the wrong person, or do it with the wrong person, do it like at all, do it in the wrong context, and it's focused on you did something wrong, and so you did a wrong act, so you're sinning, right? Instead, the ancient Greeks' ethical system was much more virtue-oriented, which is, they were more concerned with not what you did, but that you're doing it in the right way. And so, the Greek word for virtue, or I think there might be multiple, but one of them is arete, which roughly translates to excellence. And to be sinful is to be, in a sense, weak. And so, like, misbehaving sexually for, like, the ancient Greeks would be something to the tune of, like, having not enough sex in the winter because you are supposed to have, you're supposed to do the deed more often in the winter and less often in the summer to create balance, because you need to balance the coolness with the heat and the heat with the cold. And so instead you get an ethical system that's much more about stylization and proper ways of doing things, rather than our current ethical system, which is much more Kantian in nature, and is much more about red lights, if you know what I mean. As in, you can't do that. But for this ethical system, like, when we focus on this system, if you fail to do something moral, if you commit a wrong act by omission, there's really not that much judgment on you. So you don't get judged for being weak. Omission is not judged. And instead, like, if you think about it in terms of, like, cancel culture, not to rip on cancel culture, because I actually think that cancel culture is kind of fine. But what they do is, when we're evaluating people ethically and we're dogpiling them, we never jump on them for, like, they didn't do enough when they had the power to do more to help other people. It's always they did something specific wrong, and now their entire moral history and being and essence, we're going to judge by this one thing that they did wrong. So much more focused here. And the ancient Greeks were much more focused here. It's interesting, how much different this is, but it's also so foundational, and we, like a pair of sunglasses, right? We kind of, to some degree, look through our ethical system and don't actually see it ourselves. And it's such a different paradigm where, like, weakness or excellence, rather than being sin-oriented, is how you evaluate ethics. And you have to look through, like, your own vision of what's going on, but they're never like, oh man, that dude was just weak, as in he was immoral in that way. I think what you say makes sense to me. I think it makes sense too. I think that, to some degree, the problem is like, look, let's load a new page. Omission, to me, is just another form of action. Right? You can never not act. Choosing to be still is just a different type of action. And so the fact that we don't evaluate this in our ethical system is, like, in my opinion, like, a serious, like, flaw. And I think people don't like to think about things in this way because it is, it can lead to some sort of uncomfortable situations. And there's a thought experiment by Peter Singer that keeps me up at night. Well, maybe we could just explain let's find Peter Singer. Let's find his thought experiment. And we brought this one up before. But Peter Singer has this drowning child thought experiment. Let's see if we can find the Wikipedia article so we don't get a bunch of weird ads. No, we can't? No, okay. Maybe we can. Well, we could get a picture of Peter Singer, at the very least. So, Peter Singer, man, he looks old in that picture. It's been a hot minute since we've seen some kind of pictures of Peter Singer. But Peter Singer came up with this thought experiment, which is, you have a really nice pair of shoes on, $200 shoes. I used to use Yeezys, but those aren't popular these days, so some $200 pair of shoes. Absolutely magnificent. And you see a child drowning in a pond. You could save the child, but you're going to destroy your Yeezys. Do you save the child? Fundamentally, this is an act of omission. Not saving the child is an act of omission. But intuitively, a lot of us want to say, you're monstrous if you don't save the child, right? That's insane. What are you talking about? I understand it's an act of omission. It's not illegal for you not to save the child, except it is. It seems like this should be immoral. And Peter Singer's point is, here, if we talk about Singer, Peter Singer's point is you make that decision every day. Because you could send $200 to Africa and save a child and send him to Oxford and fix his cleft lip. And instead, you choose, whenever you buy a $200 pairs of shoes, you choose to let a child in Africa die. And so when you think about it from the terms of the consequences of your actions, you get a new pair of shoes and a child dies. This thought experiment generally makes people a little uncomfortable. And so the second ethical system, rather than a rule-based system, is the consequentialism. Now, this has other sorts of problems. But you can see that the act of emission has had a consequence in that a child drowns. Right? I think my actions should be based on what's the best for people, even if it harms me in a way. Well, in that case, because you can probably do an enormous amount of good by sending money to Africa, you should basically never buy anything for yourself, and like ever. Peter Singer mentioned. Peter Singer is an absolute Chad. We do criticize billionaires for not doing enough to help people. Yeah, but there's not a scandal. So we criticize them, but we criticize them like half-assedly. Like Diddy. Diddy's in a bunch of trouble right now. Diddy's, as far as I know, a billionaire, right? Diddy's not in trouble for what he didn't do. Diddy's in trouble for what he did. And I'm not saying, you know, something to the extent that we shouldn't be judging Diddy. I'm just saying Diddy didn't get in trouble until he committed an act of commission, right? We complain about people, but complaint is light relative to canceling. Like, someone has to do something specific and wrong. And one of the for us in our moral system, we really judge people because we're so like sin/wrong deed oriented, where we we really care about the specific things that people do wrong. Philosophy is serious business to kids. Yeah, I mean, we get the the classic of the classic for comparing utilitarianism to deontology. Utilitarianism being consequentialism. The classic of this is the... Oop, didn't mean to do that there. Let's see if we can do this. The classic is the trolley car problem, which is that there's a giant trolley, and it's heading down the tracks. If you let it keep going, and I think a lot of people have seen this even if they have no background in philosophy, but you see this a little bit in philosophy. If you let it keep going, it's going to kill 5 people. I believe the number's 5. It really doesn't matter. The point is that it kills a number greater than 1, right? There's 5 people. They're all tied to the track. You can't reject the thought experiment. This is what a lot of people do. They're like, oh, well, I get them off the track. The entire point of the thought experiment is to give you a bit of a problem. You can't circumvent the problem by solving it. This is to reject the thought experiment. So you can't save them from the track. And there's another track, right? And on this other track is one person. And there's a lot of memes that use this as a permutation, right? Or some permutation of that. And you are right here, and you're smiling because you have a decision to make. You are next to a lever, and the lever will change the track so that it kills the one person. The question is do you pull the lever? And the two ethical systems that get commonly contrasted are utilitarianism which is looking at the consequences, and deontology, which is caring about rules. Rules. And this is caring about consequences. Did he mention? Hell yeah. Did he? You can stop buying a lot from Freya, since they didn't withdraw from the most democratic Russian nation. Yeah. Your degree in philosophy was one big fun time for you, wasn't it? I enjoyed it. We can't control Z with the pen, unfortunately. And utilitarians will pull the lever because killing 5 people, 5 is greater than 1. All other things equal. We assume that these people are equal because in terms of the thought experiment, we've not been told one is a doctor, one is an inventor, or anything like this. One's a criminal. So you pull the lever and you kill the one person here. They died. Deontology says you don't kill people. Fair. You don't pull you don't pull this. This is not your responsibility. What's going on currently? You don't pull the lever, and you let the 5 people die. But you haven't killed anyone. If you were to pull the lever, you would be killing one person. That's not allowed. You don't kill the boys. So, this is a common thought experiment because it's really, really straightforward for highlighting these two. I really don't know what you're supposed to do with virtue ethics. It would depend on what your virtues are, I suppose. But this is the the thing is, this is the world of a thought experiment, right? And in the thought experiment world, in Fantasyland, I think a lot of people are... I think in general people pick utilitarianism. They pick to save the 5 people. And this is what I pick. But the problem with thinking like this is... in order to know what you should do when you're thinking like a utilitarian, you need knowledge. You need to know what's going to happen in the future. And in a thought experiment where you know exactly, hey, it's 5 to 1, you have perfect knowledge, right? The real world is almost never like this. In the real world, you often don't have knowledge. And lacking knowledge, one of the problems is going to be that you're not going to actually be able to tell how many people you would kill and be able to do the math and how many people you would save. And if you have very, very limited knowledge, I think if you have infinite knowledge, utilitarianism is the obvious slam dunk ethical system. But if you don't have very much information and you don't know how things are going to turn out, rules are a great way of approaching ethics. If you just generally live by you don't kill the boys, you probably won't make too many mistakes. Utilitarianism would necessitate that if you encountered baby Hitler, that you kill him immediately, right? Because that would create the greatest good for the greatest number of people. So it would necessitate you sometimes create acts of commission, but how would you have any way of knowing you met baby Hitler when you met him? You wouldn't. And the problem is you don't have the knowledge. And so I think utilitarianism, both these systems often get ripped on quite a bit, more than they ought to. But I think that a way of thinking about it that I have never seen in a philosophy class, and I've seen this taught at least by a half dozen different teachers, which is that one system is better when you have knowledge, and one system is better when you have no idea what's going on, which is to say the system you should use is contingent. And I think the reason why I've never seen this in a philosophy class is because they really don't like stuff that's contingent. For them, it is something called relativism. See, both utilitarianism and deontology are trying to discover a way of determining ethics that is objective, that they can know what is ethical. And an approach where you should sometimes do one thing and sometimes do another is not very amenable to them. They want to be able to say, in the abstract, this is the ethical thing. And so introducing anything that is, context dependent. Here, this is contingent on your knowledge, what you should do. And they want to make an argument for what is moral in the abstract, rather than having a heuristic. Let's see if I can spell heuristic. Rather than say, if I know exactly what's going to happen, I'll use utilitarianism. If I don't know, I'll use deontology. They don't want to do that because they want to say, hey, we know objectively what's right and wrong. And so this is how, like, kind of in the West, ethical theory works. You smile because philosophy is fun? It is. Have you seen The Good Place and its take on the trolley? I've not. Rules should be formed to eliminate the worst consequences. Well, that's generally how rules are formed, yeah. But two people is always greater in value than one. Well, I don't think that's the case. I think if you have more information, like utilitarianism, like if all 5 of these guys are murderers, right? And you're a utilitarianism, and this guy saves puppies. Then you actually, as a utilitarianism, would not pull this. The mustache would be the giveaway. Just kill every baby with a Hitler mustache. Seems not terrible. When I was in college in Brazil studying history, I barely saw any Eastern philosophy or Eastern historiography. Did you study Eastern stuff in the college you took, like Confucianism? Yeah, I took Asian philosophy. And there's actually an essay that or study that I actually reference a lot from the Asian philosophy class, which is like Eastern versus Western ways of thinking. And one of the things is East is much more community oriented. And West is more individualistic. Which, okay, this sounds like sociology, and to be fair, it is, but this also informs the way that this, like, underpinning really informs their philosophy a lot. A lot of Eastern philosophy is going to be more communal oriented, and specifically, like, Confucianism is about, like, I guess if you want to, like, pin it down into 2 things, it's about, like, rules and seeking harmony and, like, having respect and being oriented in a way that is much more society oriented, whereas, like, the West would be like the ancient Greeks come to mind, where this is like virtue or excellence, arete, as like a more underlying principle, whereas like the West is more the East is more harmony oriented. So the ancient Greeks, their thinking being the like kind of foundation for Western thought. And there was a study that was really interesting that made the argument that this and this was based on the type of agrarian societies. The cause of this was what type of grain these guys grew, where the West grew wheat and the East grew rice. And rice paddy farming is very labor intensive, and you need community to do it. And wheat farming, you can do solo bolo. And what they found in this study, where they looked and tested wheat farming, and this was in order to maintain good controls. This was Han Chinese both wheat farmers, which is north of the Yellow River, they grow wheat, generally speaking, and rice farmers, which is, south of the Yellow River, they grow rice, and they're all culturally Han Chinese, but they found the ones that had descended from people who grew wheat were much more individualistic. And they found the ones that descended from people who grew rice were much more community-oriented. And this study really stuck with me because the type of grain that they grew as an emergent pattern for how their ethics formed, for me, is one of the... again, with, ethics, you're looking through your own sunglasses of ethics, and so you don't have the same upbringing or history or any of this type of stuff. So I'm looking through a Western lens. So I'm way more, individual-oriented, right? But how confident am I that this is somehow the right way of looking at things, or I'm not just blinded by my own glasses, and being more community-oriented, a la the East, would be a better way of looking at things? I can't be divorced from my own perspective that's informed by stuff that is so outside, my awareness and control, such as the way my ancestors got their food, causing me to interpret, ethics in an entirely different sort of way. And so, an interesting, experiment or, thought experiment is different permutations on, if your father kills someone, do you turn him in? And if you're more community-oriented, this might seem unethical because you're going against your family. If you're more individualistic-oriented, this might seem, of course you turn them in. And this study for me was, a really big one. There's, a third type of society. Honor societies. These societies didn't grow stuff, but instead did livestock. And the thing about growing stuff versus livestock, retribution is easy when you grow stuff, because you stay where the wheat is and where the rice is, and you can have central authorities, and because you have central authorities, the central authorities can enforce law and order. If you have livestock, the value moves with you, so you can steal everyone's stuff much easier, because you can't steal a farm. You wouldn't download a farm, but you can download some livestock. What this ends up producing is something resembling an ethics that looks a little like gangster ethics. In that it is simultaneously very polite, but if you slight someone very, very significantly, they go from 0 to 100 in terms of the violence. And this is because they have to enforce their own things like property rights, because there can be no centralized authority, and so you can't, for example, allow someone to disrespect you. So I think about this in terms of gangster ethics, because if you have a disagreement, if Home Depot steals, farm equipment from Lowe's, you just report that to the police. If you can't report to the police, if there's no central authority, which you would not achieve if you do not achieve as easily if you don't have locations where the value has to stay. This is central for creating central authorities that, enforce laws and stuff. If you don't have that system, you gotta go gangster and enforce your own laws. So what, drug dealers do is if someone steals something from them, they go break the other guy's kneecaps. The guy from Lowe's and the guy from Home Depot, they don't break each other's kneecaps because they can go to the police. If you don't go to the police, you can't let someone disrespect you like that. Right? And so honor cultures will do stuff that seems like absolutely crazy to us, like kill someone for being rude. But in the context of, looking at it through, the lens of their historical, form of, gaining food, it makes a lot more sense. Because if I allow you to disrespect me, and I have a herd of animals and you have a herd of animals, you might think you can take me or kill me and take all my animals. And so I can't allow you to disrespect me in that way. So my life, humans, human lives are worth the same. I would be super okay if Putin dropped dead. I just don't think the same way. Do I think the Eastern way of thinking might be better? Maybe. I don't think that way. I'm more concerned with, like, the way I think, being moral with the way I think, than necessarily... I don't think there's a right way to think. I think the right way... I think what you should do is, however you do think, you try and be moral within that system. I don't think... I would be known as a relativist, although my commitment to relativism is less like a moral relativism than it is a metaphysical relativism. Which those sound like big words, but I think big picture you can't reach objective truths. And so, because big picture you can't reach objective truths, you can't reach moral truths in an objective way. And so because of that, I'm a moral relativist. I'm not someone who believes you can reach objective truths, but you just can't reach them about morality, which is what some people think of when they think of moral relativists. So my commitments are about, like, the nature of knowledge itself, as it relates. Against the grain about early human development, states of government, that would be interesting. How is isolation affecting this? Could isolated areas be different than the majority example? Well, these are, like, prominent examples that are easy to study. We process information, generally speaking, left to right. And to be fair, humans in general will process information almost entirely through metaphor that's extended from their embodied experience. The reason we process information left to right is because we lived on plains, right? We said, this is my place. And we scour when we're looking for danger. We would look left, and we would look right. There are societies which live in trees. Not a lot, so this sample size is kind of small. But in the same way we process a lot of information left to right, and we look left to right primarily, they process up-down. And so this is the primary mode through which they are grounding, like, visual information. So if they were to, make a language, lines would go like this, right, instead of left to right. Or if they were to invent writing or have some sort of writing system, almost certainly. And so when you talk about isolationism, the question is, what's the embodied experience? Because of that isolation. And then how are things organized? Like, what's the day-to-day life like? Because it can look a lot different depending on how you're acquiring resources, right? There's the example of that one girl who was raised by wolves. I think it was a girl somewhat recently, and she basically turned entirely feral. That's a really bad looking wolf, but in terms of pure isolationism, big part of how grains are regular and predictable harvest that can be controlled or taxed at harvest, as fields don't move and grain has to be harvested or it goes bad. That makes sense, Lemon. So that kind of ties back into a little bit what we were discussing, which is that the central authority is created by having non-moving food sources, and there is no central authority if your food source is mobile. Like, the people who live in Appalachia are more descended from honor society. I think it's the Scots, it might be the Irish. So I would recommend not being disrespectful. As far as I know, they're really polite, but in an honor society, you go 0 to 100 with the violence. Is this why Pashtun be wildin'? I don't know. I don't know what Pashtun be doing. Where tubers could be left in the ground, grown in varied environments, and allow such people to escape control. We do like potatoes. I believe there's objective morality, but we don't know what it is. However, we can approach it just like we approach our understanding of physics. Yeah, so as a relativist, I don't think there, in the sense that I don't think you can use propositional language like X is Y. This action is immoral, and capture all of morality in these types of statements in an objective way. I don't think that that's possible. I don't know. I don't think there's a God's eye description of morality. So, the VOD for this stream will be The VOD for this stream will be very strange. I imagine people will entirely stop watching when I went down to change my laundry, or when I was trying to put together this thing. I'm enjoying it though. I probably need to take a shower and go to bed though, because I got to stream in the morning. Are you a generalist? I like to think so. I mean, I'm becoming less and less generalized when I focus more and more on the gaming stuff. I'd like to do more streams like this, but and talk about stuff and ideas. The thing is the ideas streams were never really that successful, but I could maybe just try and do just chatting streams on the ideas channel. One other problem is you guys are only seeing this because it's on the gaming channel, and majority of you, this is also not my time slot, but a majority of you are coming from the gaming, and you're clicking for Path of Exile, and you're just greeted by this monstrosity of a thing. But the kind of, I guess let's put a little bit of punctuation mark on the session, and then we'll maybe call it. We have, individualistic societies. We have communal societies. And by the way, there's more categories than this, but this is just a way of organizing some thoughts on it, right? And this isn't, I don't think that these categories capture all societies, but we have these 3 different types of societies. The thing is the question we were asked, your father commits a murder, do you rat him out? And I think the individual society says yes, because the communal society says no. And the honor society is, who would I rat him out to? There's no central authority. They're like, what's that? What do you mean? Ride or die? I think that whether you choose to rat, if your values are individualistic and you choose not to rat out your father, I think you're immoral. And if you are individualistic and you rat him out, I think you're moral. I think if you're communally oriented in terms of your values and you rat out your father, then I think you're immoral. And if you don't rat him out, then I think you're not immoral. And so, for me, evaluating people, it's consistency within their own values and not being hypocritical that makes me think of whether or not someone's immoral. And whether or not they ever act in what's called bad faith, where they know they're doing what they shouldn't be doing, and they find a sneaky way to justify it, let's say. This, for me, is what makes someone immoral, is deviating from the system, which is really difficult in the case of sociopaths, because I actually, can't consider them immoral. I do enjoy the Ideas channel. Thank you. It's also in a mixed way. So example is how in the north, in the cold, you have to cooperate more with others as there's harsher variables. That makes 100% sense. That's why like just having 3 categories is like not appropriate, because like you can't capture every society in just like these 3 names. But for the purposes of like answering this thought experiment, do you rat out daddy? And I think that the fact that these answers are different in terms of these societies, and I'm okay with them being different, and I can think of an individualistic person ratting out their dad as being immoral, and I can think of a communal person protecting their dad as being immoral. I think that this is deeply unsettling to people in philosophy in general, and also not intuitive to other people. And this is like one of the reasons why, in general, a really hands-off approach politically is what I think is good, because if morality is subjective in this way, then the government shouldn't interfere that much. But to the extent that the government does have rules, it should enforce all of them. Because I don't think that there's like a correct answer, but I do think that people exist who do what they think they shouldn't be doing, and I think those people are immoral. Kind of as a way of thinking through it. Which people in philosophy really hate this perspective when they say you're a relativist. There's actually an example. I probably shouldn't talk about it on the YouTube. God damn it. You can't talk about the more heinous sounding stuff in morality when you just get like deprioed and get in trouble for stuff. And be enforced with higher priority than the other. Wow, someone pinged me in PoE? Did someone try and trade with me? What the hell? That's crazy. Yeah, let's just log out of PoE so we won't accidentally show up. Yeah. Alright. I think we're gonna wrap up. Thank you everyone for coming out. It was fun getting this thing together. I don't know to what extent we're gonna use it. Probably more on the ideas stream or on the ideas channel. I do think that this is kind of a nice tool though, because we can like we can specifically write much more accurately with this. I suppose we could, if we actually wanted to try and like draw something, we could like do it a lot better with this than a mouse probably. Something like this. But we need to get to sleep, because we got to stream in the morning. The background soundtrack was nice. Yeah, let us know people we're actually still playing Path of Exile or something like that. They thought it was just a short little aside. No, we did unbox this thing and take a look at it. I suppose we'll unplug it. And it stops lighting up. That's so cool. Just takes over our mouse. This thing. I'm sure there's other ways to use it or software. Thank you for the stream. Be sure to redo your keybind so you don't use the drop tool by mistake. Ah, that's a good shout. I think I just need to hold the pen differently as like my primary injunction. Or I have to get used to holding it in a specific way. But I think we're gonna wrap up here. I don't think we're gonna. Yeah, let's not go out of our way to do any sort of rating, because that doesn't necessarily make sense. We'll just answer the last question. Is it sensitive to pressure as well to affect brush size? It seems somewhat sensitive. Some of our brush strokes were showing up bigger than others, so I don't know exactly what was driving that. But I don't think that... I don't know why these are bigger. Maybe if we hold down the key, it's more about that. Because these are definitely bigger. We're doing this with the mouse now. Maybe it does matter for sensitivity. That's kind of neat. We draw a better house with the mouse. No, not really. The clicking is faster, but it's not like more accurate. We'll find out if you could write I can't write in cursive just normally, so won't be able to. Or it's all just print text. I also think that it's hard to read, so it's the pressure. Interesting. It makes them bigger. I guess that makes some sense. Yeah, I mean, if I was good at art, we could probably do some crazy things with that pad. I used to be really good at drawing. Anyways, we'll be off. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good night. We'll be here. We'll be back in a few hours, like 7 hours. Probably get not as much sleep as we'd like.